Let's move on to question number 2. My 15-year-old daughter is a teen and still working through her SM treatment. She is not verbal with adults other than my mom, husband, and myself, but she wants to get a job this summer. What kind of jobs do you recommend for a teen with selective mutism?
So selective mutism meaning mute in this case. So it's the question you said is that she is still mute with adults. So a big part of treatment, and I said this in the previous question, even with the 8-year-old, is helping an individual understand themselves. At 15, absolutely, so much of treatment is working with this 15-year-old, teaching her about her feelings, understanding where she's on the bridge, working through strategies to find her voice. Often as teens make the progress, like still mute, I would say, is this a speech phobic where the child is, we're going to hold off on the job in a second, because what I find is most teens do have a voice. They may not be initiative, elaborative, and expressive. They may lack a lot of confidence when it comes to certain populations, such as adults, because maybe, they haven't had as much experience with them, or it's been very learned and conditioned. So then you're thinking maybe there's a speech phobia going on. And so with adults, helping to make that progress through the use of a verbal intermediary, very conscious use of a verbal intermediary with a parent, but also using sounds to words to unlearn their conditioned mutism with adults. Now, with that said, we have to see kind of where she's at. She's still mute with adults. So that to me would be a very critical aspect to treatment as to what is holding her back with adults. Is she verbal, just not initiative, expressive, and elaborative? Doesn't know how to start conversations, continue conversations? So in other words, she has a voice, but it's quiet and not consistent. Or is she truly mute with adults so that when an adult asks her a question, completely mute? Based on those answers would dictate how we alter the treatment, whether we're focusing more on sounds to words. But at the same time, with a 15-year-old, I would talk about the use of an intermediary with another adult or someone this child or this teen feels comfortable with, practicing that in the real world, practicing it with teachers, with either a peer if she's verbal with peers, going into stores and restaurants, approaching them, excuse me, miss, can you help us? Sally, are we looking for this or that? No answer, this or that, lean in. So starting to help the child cross the bridge with that cognitive awareness. And that's something we would individualize in treatment. But if the parent's saying, look, right now she's completely mute, we really are supporting her desire to have a job, here's what I would say. I would say this could be a motivating factor in her treatment to work through these strategies, because she absolutely can overcome this. This shouldn't be like a forever thing where she's mute with adults and let's just get through life. It's really working through it. And most teens don't take that long as you dive into the transitional stage of communication, really work through that cognitive awareness of the bridge, feelings, and so forth. But if there is going to be a job, let's face it, we need to be in a situation where there's trusted adults that know how to understand and support this teen, because if she doesn't have a voice, we need to have a way for her to communicate in a comfortable, safe way. Are there family and friends who she can work with this summer? Maybe it isn't as front-facing. Maybe it's more in the back end, just because interacting with, let's think about it. What would a 15-year-old do as far as a job goes? We can work, if she loves animals, in a veterinary office, in a shelter, working with the animal. Right. Well, in a restaurant, what would she do? She has to talk to people most of the time.
Yeah.
You can't be mute in a restaurant with customers. Working in a store at a cashier, you can't be mute with a cashier. So you really have to pick either a back-facing job where there's trusted adults, where she's doing more back-end stuff like office work, or kind of, working with animals, things like that. And what?
Is it a situation where, similar to what you would recommend for how to get a child to feel comfortable, go in the areas of their interests, right? Is that something that's applicable here?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. What are her interests? But we also have to think about she's still mute. So this could be a motivating factor for her to push through as she works through treatment. I'm assuming she's working with a professional that has expertise in SM and knows how to move her through the transitional stage, because she's stuck in the nonverbal with adults. So it's a big focus on stage 2 to progress into stage 3. But then even when teens get into stage 3, they still need to tend to work on initiation, elaboration, and expression through a lot of different types of strategies that we do use to help them become more, action plans, I just statements, sandwich-based questions, copy back, conversation starters. There's an array of things that we do. And that's what this teen would need to work on. So as far as a job goes, absolutely high interest. But maybe there's things that either in the home she can do for now, maybe with a friend volunteering in, let's say, somewhere where she has a verbal friend that can act as an intermediary. So maybe I had a child that was mute that did like actually stocking in the back end of a store, working for their parent, front facing, just, taking someone back somewhere with a trusted adult or a trusted peer that she can use as an intermediary. It's also important to really talk to this teen about what she wants to do, but we can't have her in a front-facing situation where verbal expectations are expected, because we don't want to treat her as if she has like she can, if she has SM and has the ability to speak. We want to kind of meet her where she's at, but also help her understand that if you want a job that is front facing, this is a reason we're in therapy. And that often is a motivating factor.
Yeah. Like that.
But family and friends is a good area,
Got it. Yeah.
And practicing skills. What I would say is maybe we spend this summer really working on more front facing with a trusted adult, not so much as a job, but as a helper. Like I had a 17-year-old that would go with her parent into the stores, go up to the pharmacy. They practice their exposures because the child became motivated. I do want to work in that preschool summer camp, or I really want to work and, clerk somewhere. I really want to, be a counselor at, a tennis camp. Well, it's hard to do that when you're mute completely.
Yeah.
So
Good motivator.
It's a motivating factor to maybe really work on skills so that next summer it can be a paid job. Nothing wrong with that. It's meeting her where
Baby
she's
steps.
at. It's not pressuring her and saying, well, if you talk, you can do it. You're saying, look, I get it. It's hard. And we're going to work really hard this summer so that you can get that job next summer. And we're going to do whatever we can to work with you to make this happen because we know this is important to you. Very different than, well, if you could just talk, then you'd get the job you want. And then that child feels shame and doesn't feel good about herself.